It's Block Lounge Entertainment, and the time is right with T-Pre.
I hope everybody is doing great today. Shout out to all of you who will come into the building. We are going to get right into this conversation regarding Larry Reid and Tasha K. It is a lot to unpack with that. Also, we're going to talk about Jaguar Wright and Soular and everything that happened with that over the weekend. Okay, but first we're going to get into this quick timer, and then we're going to get right into the show. Okay, you guys go ahead and grab your libations and sit back because we are going to get right into this tea. My bad, guys. I was on mute. I hope everybody is doing as excellent as I am. Make sure that you guys are hitting the like button on the way in, okay? We got a few things that we need to unpack in this conversation because there was a lot of things that happened in this past week, whether it's been with Jaguar Wright and Soular and the Carbon Nation. And then if you've been over to King Payne, he's been talking about all this, along with the situation going on with Larry Reid and Tasha K. Um, Everybody and their mom is talking about both of these situations. Okay. And I definitely wanted to add my 2 cents to it. But before I do, I definitely wanted to take a time for self-reflection and self-correction. Okay. Now, as you guys do know, T Pre will make mistakes from here and there. I will go in and I will jump off and yell and scream and cuss somebody the fuck out. I ain't got no problem with doing that. At times, I will say things that I don't mean and not say, also say things that I don't wish to be public, especially if I'm going through a situation like that with somebody or they're saying things in regards to me publicly, or disparaging me publicly. I will also clap back and say things to them as well. So I want to first be the first to acknowledge that I was wrong in what I said to Shakim Ra the other day. Um, I was angry, I was pissed off, and I said some things that I should not have said publicly. And for that, I apologize. I don't apologize for the energy behind it. I don't apologize for what I said, but I definitely apologize for how it came out, and I should not have been that angry. I do know how to self-correct, and I will self-correct in a situation. But I also don't want to take full responsibility for that situation, because what you're not going to do is keep coming for me and think that I'm not going to come for you. But I'm going to leave that there, and just let that go and let that be, and you can take it whatever way you want to. But that is my moment of self-correction. And I'm going to, take the time to do exactly that. Hey, Miss Murph, what's happening? I'm going to take the time to do exactly that and, and then move forward. But like I said, I'm not taking back what I said. I'm just not, I'm not happy with how I did it. And that's just that. Because, sometimes somebody's got to be the bigger person. And yeah, I'm willing to do that. So anyway, moving on, let's go ahead and get into the Jaguar Wright and the Soular situation first. And then I'm going to talk about Larry and Tasha, because I think there's a lot to unpack with both of these, but I think there's a lot more to unpack with the Larry Reid and Tasha situation. So everybody knows Jaguar Wright from back in the day. She was a neo soul singer, has been in the music industry for many, many years. She's worked with people like Jay-Z, The Roots, and many others. Jaguar is from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So she's worked with many artists that are outside of Pennsylvania or outside of Philly, or has been connected to Philly in some way. So if you've seen or been at any of these concerts back in the day, if you've been to Love Park, if you've been to anywhere like that, like, where summer jam, all that stuff, if you've been to any of that stuff, you've probably ran across Jaguar Wright. Okay. Just simply because of who she was connected with. So for lately, in the past couple of years, Jaguar has been talking a lot about the music industry and talking about some of the things going on in Hollywood that either she has experienced herself or she has seen. And a lot of it has been just basically, quote unquote, exposing Hollywood for the many things that Black people particularly are getting involved with in Hollywood. But there's a lot of, even just outside of Black people, it's just Hollywood itself. It's not a secret that a lot of these conversations are being had by stars, celebrities, and former celebrities, in regards to things that go on in Hollywood. So I'm not surprised at a lot of the stuff she said. It's not very shocking anymore, a lot of these things that are being said and that are being shared. But the bottom line is she has made some very pertinent points. And one of the points recently that she's made is that she's become a target because of the things that she has spoken out on. I mean, she has talked about all kinds of stuff from Puffy to you name it. And she's actually corroborated a lot of stories that other people have been speaking on. Okay. So here's the thing. And I've kind of always felt this way about Jag. I've felt like, a lot of things she's saying is fact. There's some things that she may be saying that aren't 100% fact, but there definitely is a lot of things that she's saying that has to be true or has to have some truth to it. Where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Let's just remember that that phrase for a second throughout this whole show. Now, with the smoke and the fire, Jagus, like I said, she said a lot of things that has really stepped on a lot of toes, especially not just with people like Jay-Z and them, but I'm talking about like top Jewish executives that are working in the music industry. Okay, she's talked directly about them and their involvement in this behavior. So a lot of people, including myself, has felt like Jaguar may in fact be in danger because of a lot of these conversations that she's had publicly. So, with the recent information or the recent stuff that's come out with her fighting with the husband at the barbershop and rubbing her son's ashes on her face, and it looking like some kind of spirit had taken over and she had just become this other person. A part of me wanted to say that it was all sensationalism and that, it was scripted just because of who she was around, right? Soular and the Carbonation, those niggas will do pretty much anything for a dollar, anything for clout, anything, to get that camera rolling and to get their names circulating on the internet. Okay. So it wouldn't surprise me that they would be in a scripted like situation. But it would surprise me if Jag would be in a situation like that, right? Unless she was so drunk or so out of her mind that she was just involved in something that she really wasn't knowingly involved in. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that she didn't play a role in this. I definitely think she did. I think that her being a married woman, she shouldn't have gotten so close to this young man, this 25-year-old young man to begin with. But she did. Okay, so be it. But the problem that I'm taking with it is, like I said, Soular is a clout chaser. Okay. If anybody knows anything about Carbonation and anything about anything concerning any of those characters in Carbonation, from Soular to Velvet to Nature Boy himself, down to all the wives that he's got, to True, to any of the other men that have been there and their girlfriends, their baby mothers, and everything else. They're all clout chasers. Like every single one of them, get up here and they wait for kind of like their plight, for you to talk about their plight, and then they go in on that. It makes them money. They're content creators. I can't knock them for their hustle, right? That's what they do. But when does it become too much, right? When does it become something that is detrimental to somebody's health, mental health, and physical health as well? Because in that situation with Jag, I really don't think she was herself, right? I don't think that was her normal self. Yeah, I've heard little rumors about her having some mental conditions and so forth and so on. But a lot of times I think some things like that are used as excuses, especially when you try to discredit somebody, okay? Or you try to discredit their words, or what they say. Because people with mental conditions, just because you have a mental condition, doesn't mean that you're not mentally keen. It doesn't mean that you're not aware of what's going on around you, right? It might mean that you may react to things different than others may. You may have a chemical imbalance on how you react to what you see, but that doesn't mean that you're not aware of what's going on, and it doesn't mean you can't articulate what you see. Okay, and I want to make that very, very clear while we're talking about mental illness and we're talking about Jaguar Wright, because I think she's a very intelligent woman, and I think she's also quite keen, and she's very aware of what's happening around her and also aware of the past. Okay, so I'm not going to discredit the things that Jaguar has said. And I'm also not going to discredit the things that she said in regards to her safety. Okay. And whether or not she's even safe on these YouTube streets or anywhere on these streets at all when talking about these situations, right? Is it possible that there is agents that are being sent in to set her up or to get her to appear a certain way so that people will discredit her, or so that something can happen to her? Because again, like I said, if well, I'll say this: if they can't just come in and actually, ill with the K in front of it, her, right? Because if that's the case, then it would be obvious, who did something to her. It would be obvious what happened. So do they just send someone in who's, kind of friendly and popular around here that everybody kind of likes? You pay them a few dollars to go in and give her a few drugs or give her some drinks or whatever to make her appear a certain way on camera, because they're always on camera, they're always out here, just to discredit her. That is what I believe it is. I really believe, and I could be wrong, but allegedly I believe that Soular and the Carbonation crew, including Velvet and the rest, and because Velvet suddenly wants to be back in Soular's life and all this other stuff, I really believe that they were sent in to come in and to not so much attack Jaguar physically, but to use elemental spirits around her. Okay, this is a spiritual thing. Use elements around her. So you come in and you get her drunk and get her, tore up and stuff, and get her talking and get her on camera and embarrass her. Have her doing stuff that she wouldn't normally do. Speak spells into her ear, different things like that. And I really honestly think this is what they have done. Now, allegedly, according to official King Payne, he has spoken with Jag, or spoken with the family at least, and she is fine. She's doing well. I can't say he can't disclose where she is or what's going on, but he has said that allegedly she is fine, and she's in good hands. So thank God for that. I hope that is true. But for goodness sake, I really do kind of fear for her in regards to that. I really do think that there is some validity to what has been said in regards to her safety. And I really think that that is something to think about, especially with, like I said, who she's been around. I mean, Soular literally lives his entire life online, okay, for everybody to see. Everything he does is online. And those they all do, really. And so those will be the perfect people to set her up in a situation like that. But either way, I wish her the best. I wish her all the well in the world. I hope that that she fully recovers from this situation. I do hope, and I can see that there probably is some illness there. I'm not saying that there isn't. I do think that mental illnesses are exacerbated with alcohol and drugs. They're also exacerbated when you're not using and taking your medications properly and stuff like that. So if those are things that are happening all together, then naturally, if she does have some type of mental illness, it would, manifest itself if those things are in place. Okay. And that's just that. But millions of people are living with mental illness. And if you are experiencing mental illness, or if you do have those issues, or if you know someone that does, seek help for it, and don't be afraid to do so. There's a lot of stigma on seeking help for mental health, but do not be afraid, and do not feel ashamed of seeking help for that, because you most definitely should, and the help is there, and the stigma is not like it used to be, just to say that. So shout out to anybody who is taking care of their mental health and doing what they got to do in regards to that. Now, listen, let's talk about this whole Larry Reid and Tasha K situation, because I listened to the Tasha K show the other day. I actually watched it, the full episode, the other day. I paid the $12 so I can watch that. There's some other stuff on there too. If you guys have not paid, go ahead and take a look at that. I did not pay for Larry Reid's Patreon. I understand he had a patron video yesterday for $12. And there was a particular reason I didn't do that. Okay. It's not because I just have some bias to Larry Reid. I really, really don't have a bias to Larry Reid. It's just I wanted to give it an opportunity for the victims to be, or the accusers to be heard. Okay. And to hear them without bias, and to hear them without listening to anybody else and what they may have or may not have to say. Okay. From what I understand also on Larry's Patreon, the comments were not on, so you couldn't put your comments up and so forth. But with Tasha's show, you could comment, you could say things, so forth. Now, here's the thing, guys. I have a lot of reservations about this particular story. Okay. Number one, being a victim of sexual abuse myself, I want to make sure that I'm not going into this situation with bias. Okay. I definitely want to make sure of that. So I've been trying to remain as neutral as possible in this situation. So I'm going to speak on both sides of this situation and what I think on both sides of the situation. Okay. And I'm going to start with Tasha's side of this. So, and then I'm going to go after I talk on both sides of what I feel about both of them. Then I'm going to speak on the accusers themselves. Okay. So, as far as Tasha K is concerned, now what I understand, and shout out to Daryl Moore, he has been out here pioneering in regards to this matter for a long time. I understand based off of a conversation I had with Marcellus the other day. Shout out to him on D. Durrell's panel that, others prior to Daryl Moore have been speaking on this conversation long before Daryl Moore was. Okay, great. Here's the thing I have with Tasha K. Tasha K was, while Daryl Moore and others were talking about this, Tasha K was on the side of Larry Reid. Okay. She was very, very, very much on the side of Larry Reid. She was his friend, called him his friend, spoke, very briefly about this, didn't touch on it a lot. So the point is, she was fully, fully aware of all of this stuff. Everything that Levontre and the others are saying, she was fully aware of at the time. Okay. Her and many others. Now, people have and are entitled to feel how they feel. They are entitled to defend what they choose to. They're entitled to not defend what they choose to, right? They don't have to speak on a situation, even if it is something that is horrendous. It is not something that they have to speak on or that they have to put their finger on or, talk about, even if it's something that's close to home. What bothers me about Tasha is that part exactly. The fact that just a couple years ago, she was fine with all of this. Okay. She had no problem with any of this stuff that she is fully aware of now. Okay. She was fully aware of it then. It's not like she didn't know about all of this. She did. So even with this alleged call, which I know there was a call because I heard the call, and I can't remember who played it, but either way, I did hear the call between her and Larry where, she had asked Larry, hey, I have some information. Basically, she was saying, just paraphrasing, that she had some information. And is there anything that he wanted to discuss or anything that he wanted to talk about? Did he want to come clean about anything, and all that stuff? So I remember that conversation, right? But again, this conversation came right after the Cardi B situation. And right after they all fell out, there was a whole live stream where Tasha K, Larry Reid, Conscious TV was on the panel and so forth. And basically they fell out with Tasha. I don't quite remember at all what it was all about and all that stuff. I'll be honest with y'all, but I do remember that conversation. Okay. So after that is when Tasha wanted to start talking about this situation. Okay. With the accusers and Larry Reid. But like I said, she was well aware of all of this way before she asked Larry about this. Okay. And then after that is when she went to Lamar Whitehead and allegedly gave him that information in regards to the accusers. Okay. That's when Lamar Whitehead started talking about it because everybody knows him and Larry had fallen out over the church robbery that Lamar had went through, and Larry was, talking about with another prophet on his channel. Okay, so everybody knows about that infamous conversation that Lamar Whitehead and Larry Reid had on Larry's channel, where they fell out on the channel, and then Lamar Whitehead had been pretty much on a mission to take Larry Reid down ever since then. So it was just perfect timing, allegedly, in quote unquote, that Tasha K would drop that information on Lamar Whitehead's lap, okay, in regards to the accusers, because Lamar Whitehead had no idea about any of this stuff, okay, none of this stuff. And then all of a sudden, he knew about it when Tasha K dropped that information on his lap, okay? So now, Lamar Whitehead wants to talk to the accusers. He wants to have conversations with them. He wants to go in on the situation. Hello, Keisha. I appreciate you being in the building. Shout out to you. So he wants to now, talk. Everybody hit the like button. I've got 25 people in the clouds. Make sure that you guys are hitting the like button on the way in. Thank you. So anyway, and I'm going to check in just a few minutes before I finish all this, because I really want you guys to hit that like. I need you guys to hit the like button. So anyway, here's my thing with this whole thing with Tasha, right? She gave this to Lamar Whitehead. He went in and, started talking with the accusers and stuff like that. And it became a big sensational story because these two bloggers, well, he's a blogger too, because he's on Instagram and everywhere else. And then, he's a pastor, quote unquote. But, those two have a large following. Between Tasha K and Lamar Whitehead, both of them probably have over 2 million followers. Okay. So between both of them together. So for this situation to hit the way that it did, it really does not look good at all. Okay. And it really does not. Then you've got a couple of people who really do support Larry Reid. Okay. And, it's understandable. When you're friends with somebody, when you love somebody really and truly support them, it is very understandable to come out fighting for them, right? Especially if you truly do believe them. So it's very understandable for his friends to be stepping out and kind of jumping out the window with this situation, right? It's also very understandable for those who have in the past to be jumping ship now, because that's kind of what you're seeing, right? You're seeing people who are literally separating themselves from Larry, who are saying, I ain't got ish to do with any of this stuff, and I think that's pretty smart. And I'll tell you why. And I'll get into that in just a moment. But the issue with that I'm taking, I'm going to run back with Tasha for just a second. The issue that I'm taking is she had no problem with any of this stuff for as long as she did. And now with the perfect timing of her falling out with Larry Reid, now she wants to bring all this smoke to him, right? It really speaks volumes about Tasha's character. It speaks volumes about her as a person, right? Because, like I said, you didn't have any issue with any of this stuff as long as you and Larry were on the same page, as long as you and Larry were, seeing eye to eye. When you and Larry weren't seeing eye to eye anymore, all of a sudden you care about kids. You care about whether you can't believe this man was around your son. You can't believe you knew that this whole story while you had him around your son. You know what I'm saying? So let's be real here. Let's just be real. I would rather, and I would honestly have a lot more respect for Tasha if she would just say, I can't stand Larry no more, and so now I'm just going to tell y'all his truth. I would have a lot more respect for her than that. Don't come back and say now, I got all this respect for children and we're liberating kids and we're doing all this and this, because you were not thinking about any of that stuff for 2 years, for longer than 2 years. You have not been thinking about any of that stuff. You done broke bread with this man, done been out, done did this, done did that, had him around your kids, like you said, had him around your son, like you said. You done did all this stuff and had no problem with him. Now all of a sudden he's talking inappropriate to you on the phone and all these things happened with Larry. But you had no issues with him for literally over 2 years. For over 2 years. As long as you and Larry were on the same page, y'all were telling the same YouTube stories. Y'all were running with the same narratives. You had no problems with him. That is the issue I'm taking with Tasha K. I'm not taking an issue with the fact that she's letting this story come out. I'm really not. I'm just taking an issue with how and the energy that she is putting behind it. Because ultimately, right, the truth is going to come out, whether Larry's telling the truth or whether they're telling the truth. The truth will come out. But ultimately, the energy that you put behind it determines how people are treated in the situation. It determines, the outcome for everybody in this situation, depending on the kind of energy that you put into it. So in other words, if you have positive and good and righteous energy behind such a thing, then positivity and righteousness and goodness will come to the alleged victims in the situation. Okay. So if Larry is the victim, then positivity and good mojo will come his way despite what is coming out. Okay. The same thing would happen with the accused, the accusers. If this is fact and you have good reason, like Daryl Moore, okay, I want to look at his situation because his situation is showing positive energy. Okay. His situation is revealing his godliness. It's revealing his righteousness. Okay. So in that situation, the outcome is coming out good for everybody in the situation. It's not coming out good like this for Tasha. And I would need her, if in the event she really wants to do this for righteous reasons, because she could still clean this up. She really wants to do this for righteous reasons. I would need her to do this a righteous way. I would need her to put the proper energy behind doing this. The negative energy is going to destroy her, and it's going to hurt anybody who is a victim in this situation. And that in itself is not right, and that will bring negative energy back to her. So that is my thing with Tasha K. And that's how I feel in regards to her in this situation. But again, I want to say, I do not feel bad that she is putting the story out. I want to make that very clear. I don't think she's wrong for putting the story out, but I do think the energy that she's using to put the story out is all the way wrong, and she needs to clean that up before she goes any further, if she's really trying to do this for a good reason. Now, as far as the other side of this, right? Like I said, there's people that are jumping ship, and we're going to end it with this part. There are people that are jumping ship on this situation. There are people that do not want to have their name tied to this and do not want to have their name connected to this, and for very good reason. And I'm going to say what that reason is. Like I said, you have every right in the world to love the people that you choose to love, to defend the people that you choose to defend, and to support the people that you choose to support. But again, if you are going to support a situation and you're going to defend a situation, especially a situation like this, you better have very good reason to be doing it. And it cannot be because you love them. It cannot be because you care about them. It has to be because you know for a fact that it's not true. Okay? How you would know is if you have evidence that this person says, I have lied on them, or you were actually physically in the room. If you were not physically there to see whether or not this young man was being molested by Larry Reid, then you cannot say whether he was or not. All you can do is listen to your friend say that it's not true. And you can choose to support your friend privately and publicly, but you do not have the right to suppress the voice of someone who is speaking up on something like this. You don't have that right. Righteously, spiritually, you don't have that right. Unless you have evidence of it being false. That is the only way you have that right, righteously. Other than that, you don't have that right. And I want to make that very, very, very clear. I'm not saying that because I'm saying that you don't have the right to feel for your friends. You don't have the right to protect your friends. You don't have the right to love your friends, and you don't have the right to believe your friends. You absolutely do. But in cases of abuse and cases of abuse, period, if you have not been physically there to physically in that room, to physically watch a situation like that, okay? Because most of the time, guys, situations like that occur behind closed doors where nobody else is present, where there's no cameras, where there's nothing to record, there's nothing to prove what happened. Most of the time, probably like 99.999% of the time, when someone is molested, raped, or abused in some type of way, there is not a single soul that has witnessed what happened. Now, something like that is extremely traumatic. I know this because I went through counseling over my own experiences. Okay? Something like this is extremely taxing on the human brain. It is something very difficult to fathom, especially from the accused being someone you love and someone you care for. Okay? It's completely difficult to fathom such a thing. And it's easy to quickly dismiss such a thing like that, especially if you truly love that person, if you truly care for that person. It's understandable. But what's not okay is to just quell the voice of a victim, the voice of a person who is saying, this has happened to me, and your loved one did it. That is the time where you may need to get into meditation. You may need to pull back, and you may need to figure out when it's okay to speak on it and when it isn't. And to just allow the cards to fall where they do. Be there to support your loved one and your family member or whatever. And if it turns out that what they're saying is false and you knew it all along, then absolutely, you have that right to continue to celebrate with them and to get them the support that they need to get through that situation. But the fact of the matter is, if you were not there, physically there, then sweetheart, whether you love them, whether you think you know them, whether you think you believe them or not, you just don't know. You don't know. The only ones that would know is the person being accused, the accuser, and the Most High himself are the only ones that know for a fact. So the only person out here right now on this earth, there's only one person that has the room to call the accusers a liar. And that would be Larry himself. If anybody else is speaking for Larry, if anybody else is saying anything on behalf of Larry, you are wrong because you don't know, period. Whether you want to believe Larry, whether Larry is your friend, whether you support Larry, whether you don't think Larry is capable of this, it doesn't matter what you think. You do not have the right to call these accusers liars if you were not there and you don't know. I don't care who you've interviewed. I don't care who else lived in the house. I don't care who told you. If the accusers themselves have not come and physically told you, I am lying on this man. If the accusers have not physically said, I am lying, or if you were not physically there and watching to see what happened, then you do not have the right to call them a liar. You have the right to your opinion about it. You are entitled to what you choose to believe, but you are not right and righteous in trying and attempting to quell their voice. You are not righteous in doing that. And that will not turn out well for you in the universe. Now that's if this is true. Because what if it is? I'm not saying it is because I don't know. I wasn't there. I have no idea whether it's true or whether it's not. I hope it's not. I swear I hope it's not. For God's sake, I hope it's not. But keep in mind, there's more than one or two accusers. There's like 3 or 4. Everybody lying? Come on now. Come on now. I said this a while ago. In the spirit, you want to find yourself on the right side of history when that hammer come down. When this stuff come down, from Mother Earth and from the universe, and it drops, you want to be on the right side of history with that. You don't want to be caught with your pants down on the wrong side of history. Because it's not going to look good. It's not going to feel good. And it's not going to come out good. But people are going to do what they want to do. They're going to say what they want to say. They're going to feel how they want to feel. And they're absolutely entitled to that. But again, I would be very, very careful in jumping out these windows and caping for situations that you were not there for. Period. That's just it. That is, the right thing to do. To kind of stay neutral in the situation. To kind of not know, right? That you can be supportive on, behind the scenes with your friend and with your peoples. You ain't got to be, neutral with them per se. But publicly, I wouldn't say anything. As a matter of fact, speaking on it is making it worse. As far as speaking on it, and it's not coming from Larry. Larry has every right to speak on it. It's his situation. This is his circumstances. If he wants to go behind a paywall and talk about it, he has the right to do that. People have the right to listen to him. It's his situation. But nobody else should be talking about this. Nobody else should be, making it a point to call these accusers liars. Because you weren't there. No matter how much you love this person, no matter how much you believe in this person, no matter how much you think that they're right, even if they are, none of us have a dog in that fight. Not a single one of us. And so therefore, I think we need to do everything we can to mind our goddamn business. Like really. And just kind of let the earth handle this and let the universe handle this and let Mother Earth cards fall exactly where they need to fall. Because trust me, no matter what you say or do, no matter how much energy you are forcing into this, you are losing sleep over trying to put into this, how much money you are putting into this, it is never going to change the outcome of this. The outcome is going to be exactly what it's going to be. But the energy you're putting into it will determine just how much bruising you might receive. You understand what I'm saying? Like just how much buffering you receive from this, how much protection you've received will depend on the energy you're putting in. And if you are not intended to be in this, if this is not your fight, you need to pack up all your dogs and go to hell home. Like right now. Like put the dogs in the car. Go ahead and grab up the bones and the dog food and the dog water and get the hell up out of here. Because this is not your fight, baby. This is not your fight. This is between Larry Reid and those accusers and God. And that's it. And trust and believe, I'm sure God done let this man know this. Pretty sure. And the accusers as well. And that's pretty much all I got to say about it. I really don't have much on this, but again, I really definitely think that it's very important that we are not, trying to put our 2 cents into something and we don't really know because we honestly were not there. Like, it's just that simple, for real. But anyway, let me go ahead and check you guys' comments real quick. Let me drink a little bit of water. Throat always gets dry when I'm talking to y'all. But shout out to Miss Murphy. I appreciate you being in the building. You said hey to Miss T. Pre. Keisha Cassels, I appreciate you being in the building. Shout out to you. You said good afternoon, everyone. Everyone make sure that they are hitting the like button. Also that you make sure that you are subscribing and that you are sharing, hitting that notification bell as well so that you know when I am live. And also hit that join button. I've got some new stuff that will be coming up for members. And Miss Murph, you said, in my opinion, Tasha K only thinks about what will make her money. So a lot of times her motives aren't good. I pray for all involved parties. Absolutely. I'm praying for them too, including Larry. And yeah, I do think that, her motives behind things are money, which I think is unfortunate. Because in her situation, all of us as content creators, the whole idea is to make money, but at what cost, right? Like, how far do you take this, before it becomes really a bigger problem for you and becomes a bigger problem for other people around you? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I definitely think that I agree with that. I think it's very important to, be not only thinking about how you're going to be making money, but, definitely at what cost does it, and at what point does it become a problem, that you're making this money and then at whose expense, Yeah, that's crazy. What's up, Flock? I appreciate you. You said, I think there's a little too much information for anybody to deny a sexual relationship in nature didn't happen. Yeah, and I think he may have allegedly admitted to such on his Patreon last night. From what I'm hearing, he admitted that there was a sexual relationship between them, but he was trying to say that it was after he was at the age of majority. I think he was trying to say after he was 18. But this young boy is saying, nah, this happened. I was like 15 or 16 or something. So, I mean, I guess it's his word against his, but there's supposed to be this bombshell out here that's supposed to be dropped. That's supposed to where he can't even deny that is fact. So we'll see what happens in the next few days. But shout out to you, Flock. Miss Murphy said, like with most things, if you weren't there, you don't know what truly happened. All you can do is offer an opinion, be supportive, or say nothing. Exactly. And I think a lot of this jumping out the window, trying to clout chase for him, trying to jump ship and trying to say this and tell people that and help him with this and help him with that and live stream up. I think that is not helping Larry at all. Like I said, Larry has the right to go on his Patreon and talk about whatever he wants to. You know what I mean? But why is anybody else talking about this? This is crazy. It's absolutely crazy, especially if you're not even monetized to do it. That is the crazy part. Hey, Money to Burn. I appreciate you. Shout out to you, one of my favorite loungers in here. You said, hey, lounger. Hey, loungers. Black Lounge Divine. Miss T. Pre, listening in the clouds, saying hello. I appreciate you, as always, for coming in. And you said, Keisha Cassels. You said, I totally agree with you. And Money to Burn, you said, hey to Flacco and Miss Murph. And Miss Murph says, hey to Money to Burn. Well, listen, guys, I really appreciate all of y'all for being in the building. Shout out to all of you, all 30 of you all that are in the clouds. There were about 35 of y'all just now trying to drop down. I guess y'all knew I was about to end the show. But I truly appreciate y'all for always coming in and checking out the show. And for those of you who will catch the replay, guys, make sure that you are hitting that like button on the way out. I always appreciate that as you do that. And again, guys, I will talk to you guys later, and shout out to you guys again. And peace, guys.